any book that you've read, how much of that book do you actually remember? You might remember one or two things out of it that you quote and that you think about, and that's
Mhm.
really what you take away from the book. So why include all this detail when you can create a short book and then people read it more than once, they'll remember more of it. You might actually get more of your message across to people with a shorter book than you would with a bigger book.
Hmm.
Definitely. And again, I think the landscape right now is confusing for people who do want to know Agile but don't want to invest a grand in a class. Um, because there's so many books, which one do you pick? Even the For Dummies, which I ordered, I haven't looked at it. And it's 3 years out of date. It's a big book, it's a long book. It's really a handful of simple rules
Yeah.
and processes, and that's it. If you can do those, you can probably manage your project very well.
There's a
If
lot of
your
power in
if
the
your company
short book.
empowers you to. Yeah.
Yes, there is.
There's a lot of power in the short book because it becomes the starting place. It becomes the book that people say, hey, to get started, to get the introduction, read this first.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to be the first book that people refer,
Oh, yes, and it certainly
recommend.
is a unique value you're adding. If you want to be just different than all the books out there. How many reviews have I not read lately about books that I'm interested in buying or something? And I'll read the reviews. A lot of times the comment is this could have been reduced to a white paper. This could have been reduced to, whatever. But they've sometimes I almost feel like it's an author not bragging, but feel like they have to show that they're super knowledgeable and they're putting everything in it and you're giving everything instead of reducing it to the essential. And then people are going to say, wow, that's the value right there, the core issues, and I can use it. So
But
I think that's a great idea, Nicole.
I think that's something that we can now relate to, right? Because I think that's part of the imposter syndrome thing. That's
Mm,
definitely like it's taken a while for me to realize that I can actually really even do this. And I definitely was very skeptical when I first took the class and I wasn't even sure really what I was doing. The idea of writing a book was very, yeah, and I'd come up with sort of ideas and I think, yeah, I'll have to flesh this out and make this idea 20 pages or something like that, because that's sort of what we think authors should do.
mhm.
It's easy to look at other books. I mean, you go look at a shelf, the average business book's going to be about 200 pages. And so we get sucked into thinking, well, that's what everybody else is doing. That's what I've got to do. But again, we need to do what's right for our audience and what our audience is going to get value of. And if they want a longer book, longer book. And if it needs to be shorter, shorter. But we shouldn't, that's one area where we should diverge from the standard and say, do I really need 200 pages? Do I need more? Do I need less? It really just depends on what the audience is going for. I mean, I've
Yeah, I
read
think
business books that are 400 pages and I love it. It's great because there's a reason to have that much content. But like exactly what to say, that book, it's a couple of pages and it does its job beautifully.
Mm.
but initially my thought was like, in order to be taken seriously as one of these, you know, people who has written a 200-page book, I also need to write a 200-page book. And if I've only got, 15 pages to say about something, I'm just going to have to keep thinking through it to come up with more pages about it,